Point Guard software can never take the place of a facility management team's job, but we can sure make it easier. The Point Guard platform is simple, intuitive to use, easy to onboard and scale across an entire portfolio, and most important, offers the fastest path to value and payback over any other software available today to facility management teams. What I get most excited about is what our software can actually do to lower capital costs with condition-based information at budget time. Over 80% of equipment failure is random in buildings, and our software helps get ahead of those breakdowns so owners and managers can make smart budget decisions.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Sam Schwartz, and I'm the Director of Marketing and Member Engagement for the Energy Management Association. Welcome back to another EMA webinar. This particular session is sponsored by our associate member, Point Guard. I'd like to go over a few housekeeping notes before we jump into things today. The presenter will be holding any questions until the end of the presentation, but we do encourage you to submit them at any time using that Q&A button on the bottom part of your screen. If you happen to be experiencing technical issues during the webinar, please use the chat function to inform the panelists, and we will do our best to assist you. This presentation is being recorded and will be available for viewing in 1 week for on-demand credit at the EMA website. And in terms of continuing education credit, everyone in attendance for the full webinar will receive a certificate of attendance sent to their email within 24 hours. And as an EMA hosted event, certified EMPs can expect their CEUs to be automatically uploaded to the recertification portal. So entering in about our webinar today and about our expert Kelsey, today's webinar is Getting Credit, Finding the Best Certification for Your Building. With our expert today is Kelsey Sheehan. A little bit about Kelsey. She is a lead GA certified analytics engineer at Point Guard Technologies. She has a BS in building science with a concentration in sustainable building systems from Appalachian State. Before Point Guard, she worked in energy analytics at Highwoods Properties as well as Schneider Electric. So thank you again for everyone coming on today to join us to learn a little bit more about building certification. And with that, I'm going to hand it off to Kelsey to kick us off. Kelsey?
Yes, thank you everybody for attending today. I just wanted to add two quick things. For those of you who are not familiar with a lead GA, it means lead green associate. This does not mean I'm able to certify any lead buildings, but it shows that I have general knowledge of the concept. So it's more of a knowledge-based certificate compared to something that I would be able to, certify lead buildings. So, in addition to that, I have also helped recertify about a dozen Energy Star buildings at a previous position. And at my current job now, I also do a lot with Energy Star. All right, so today our main goal is to differentiate the various certifications. That can be a bit overwhelming. There's a lot of different ones. So pretty much my goal is to help simplify it. And like I said, to differentiate so we can find which one is the best match for your company. So our agenda for today is we're going to go over, I've picked 5 of what I consider to be the most popular and just most pertinent in the industry. And then we're going to look at the benefits of those beyond energy savings. And then we're going to look at the way fault detection and diagnostic software applies in building certifications. So as FDD software is fault detection and diagnostic software. If you're not familiar, it's an overlay software for building information systems. That is what my company Point Guard provides. And so if we want to get started with the first poll, we're wondering if any of you own, manage, or consult in commercial building management system, or sorry, commercial buildings. And I'll give everyone a minute to answer that. Alrighty, if everyone's ready, I'm going to go ahead and continue. All right, so first we're going to start out with the overview of our building certification options. Obviously, these are not all the options. These are just some of the and here we have the results. So a lot of you are consultants. Okay, that's great to hear. We do work with a lot of those within our company. And I commonly see commercial building owners hire third parties to help certify their building. So if maybe you already are in that realm, but if not, I would highly suggest learning more about this industry, because it is something that building property management companies will hire externally for. All right, so I'm going to start with Wired Score. Not sure how many of you have heard of this. It's a relatively new one. I would consider it really the first of its kind in terms of its popularity and its traction that it's gained in these past couple of years. The focus is on connectivity and technology. There's a lot of ways that FDD applies to this. There are two portions of the SMART score certification. And to clarify, Wired Score has a Wired Score certification, which is not as building related, but their SMART score certification is very pertinent to commercial buildings, smart buildings, stuff like that. So typically that's been more popular recently. But the two main portions of the SMART score certification are user functionality, UF, and technological foundation, TF. And fault detection and diagnostic software applies to UF 345, which has to do with a lot of energy and water reporting, as well as TF 2 and 3, which has to do with the building management software and the way you can communicate with the equipment through software technology. And you have the pillars presented on screen, as well as the types, the levels of certification. You'll notice a lot of them are certified silver, gold, platinum. Makes it pretty easy to remember. All right, second we have Fitwell. This is one of the two tenant-focused certifications. We will also be talking about WELL. They have some similarities, but big difference is Fitwell, you do not need a third party personnel to certify. You can do it on your own. It has lower registration costs, and it's a much simpler certification scorecard. You don't have quite as many options, which can be a little more simple for people who find it a bit overwhelming. There are 12 credit sections. They are location, building access, outdoor spaces, entrances and ground floor, stairs, indoor environments, workspaces, shared spaces, water supply, prepared food areas, vending machines and snack bars, and emergency preparedness. Fault detection and diagnostics specifically pertains to sections 6, 7, and 8, which is indoor environments, obviously the thermal conditioning and stuff like that, workspaces, some topics associated with tenant feedback, as well as a little bit having to do with shared spaces. And across the bottom there, you can see the pillars associated with the improvements that it provides. Impacts community health. It reduces morbidity and absenteeism, supports social equality for vulnerable populations, insists feeling of well-being, provides healthy food options, promotes occupant safety, and increases physical activity. All right, this is very similar to Fitwell. We have WELL. As I mentioned, those kind of benefits of Fitwell, where it was cheaper, a little bit simpler. While it has a little bit more prestige associated with it, it has a much more complex credit scorecard, which can be good if maybe you didn't qualify for all the ones on Fitwell, but it does have those higher costs associated with it, as well as you do need a well certifier third party. A benefit to well as opposed to Fitwell is that you can get additional points for being LEED certified. And I just wanted to give you a couple examples associated with well building that both do and do not have to do with fault detection and diagnostics. So for FDD, there's it's not so much, this is a lot more focused on tenant experience. So it's not quite as applicable as, say, wired score, but we do have FDD ways FDD can help, such as indoor air quality. It can help, we can make suggestions to increase ventilation. If we see that those rotational air numbers are low, it can help with humidity, moisture management. It can help with lighting controls, so tenant can get optimal lighting, and then measuring thermal parameters, which does have a section of well. And so the 7 pillars here are air, water, nourishment, light, fitness, comfort, and mind. And a couple of those non-fault detection diagnostic credits are, so say you have a building where it has some food options in it. If at least 50% of those food options are fruits and veggies, that is a credit. There is also another credit associated with the availability of having active workstations, say a treadmill workstation or a bike workstation. Also having a nap space, which I'm sure a lot of people would enjoy, but it also has a lot of ties to increased productivity. And there is well. LEED, probably the most popular one out of the ones I'm presenting today. And just to clarify, there is many different types of LEED. The one I'll be talking about today is LEED Bdnc, which means building design and construction. There's other designations associated with industrial, retail, schools, which if you work within those sectors, I highly suggest you look more into them. Not super different, but definitely some foundational differoences for sure. So as I said before, I'm a LEED GA. I'm not a LEED certifier. Those LEED certifier roles are called LEED APs, LEED Advanced Professional. You get a different LEED AP in correlation to all those different designations. So for example, if you were working on a commercial building, you would need a LEED Bdnc. Meanwhile, if you were doing retail, you would need a LEED AP retail. Also, so I'll talk a little bit about this later on, but you need a LEED AP to certify your building. A lot of bigger firms have one already on their team. And if you do have a LEED AP during that entire process of specifically with new builds or retro commissioning, throughout that process of certification, if you have a LEED AP, then you automatically get an extra credit. So I personally suggest maybe looking into certifying someone already on your team. I can tell as being a LEED GA, it's definitely helped my knowledge in the industry. And it is also all those resources that I was provided upon certifying have been very useful throughout my work. So obviously LEED, we have the certified silver, gold, platinum, provides framework for healthy, efficient, and carbon and cost saving green buildings, save money, improve efficiency, lower emissions, and create a healthier workplace. The LEED Bdnc, it has 6 different sections. We have location and transportation, sustainable sites, water efficiency, energy and atmosphere, materials and resources, and indoor environmental quality. So you have probably more prerequisites in LEED as opposed to the other certifications. Some of those certifications that FDD applies to are the fundamental commissioning and verification, the minimum energy performance, and the building level energy metering. So specifically ours and many other fault detection diagnostic software can provide that baseline level metering that you need, or let me clarify, if you are using fault detection diagnostic software, then you already have that basic energy metering that is required for that prerequisite. And you can, with the FDD, you can prove that minimum energy performance, and it does qualify for that fundamental of commissioning. So to clarify, those are just the prerequisites. Those are what you need to even start the certification process. When you get more into the credits, that's where I believe FDD comes even more into play. For 6 credits, you receive 6 credits for enhanced commissioning, which FDD Point Guard is a certified vendor for. So 6 credits is pretty hefty. It can, if you're at a 64, it can bump you up from silver to gold, or sorry, if you're at a 74, it can bump you up from gold to platinum. But the biggest, I'm pretty sure this is the biggest point pool within the certification process, is optimizing energy performance. The maximum you can get is 18 points. Now, granted, that's based on a 50% energy savings improvement. That is very drastic, and you don't typically see that. But for as small as a 3% energy performance improvement, you get 1 point. So after 3%, every other 3%, you get another point. So 9% energy savings would be 3 points. And, it has a lot of variation within that. And I highly recommend that. That's also a big point pool that I recommend you take advantage of. All right. So based on those 5 certifications, let me finish Energy Star first. So Energy Star is the only certification system I presented that is through the government. Scoring is based on a bell curve as opposed to all of the other certifications, which have different levels. What this means is a commercial building with an Energy Star score of 50% operates at 15% efficiency compared to the entire commercial building portfolio. So that building operates better, more efficiently than 50% of the commercial buildings on the market. The score is directly correlates to EUI, so energy use intensity, which in a nutshell is energy use per square foot. You see one of those numbers go up, you typically see the other go up, and vice versa. So as I mentioned before, I have managed an Energy Star portfolio. I do not have any credentials that required me to be able to do that. However, once you take that next step and want to actually certify it, you need to have a professional engineer be able to help you give them their sign off. Where I worked, we actually had one. My supervisor was actually a professional engineer, so he was able to simply sign off on everything. But if you didn't have one, you would probably have to hire somebody externally, or like we said, there's a lot of consultants here. I assume that our professional engineers, that would be a very easy way to kind of help out, try and do some more certifications. And as I said, it's a government agency. It was actually started by the EPA. And we also we pull Energy Star data in our Point Guard fault detection diagnostic software, and it refreshes every day. So we've had a lot of customers use that as the tool to try and get to Energy Star certified, which by the way is 75 plus. But I would consider this the most difficult of the certifications, because you could be at a 75, you could operate at the same efficiency for a year, but if all the other buildings do significantly better than you, then you can still get knocked down. So that, for that reason, it's relatively a difficult certification, but it holds a lot of prestige, and you get a nice plaque on the front door, and it correlates with a lot of energy savings. So this is pretty much a summary of the comparison of the costs and the maintenance associated with each certification. And I made a little note there because a lot of the third-party certifiers that you need are kind of contingent on what your local third party is priced for it. So for example, Wired Score, you do need a AP certifier for that, but that can just vary a lot. But in terms of the actual, and same with Energy Star for that professional engineer, but in terms of the actual registration, it comes with no cost. Energy Star you have to redo every year, Wired Score every 2 years, and Lead Fitwell and Well every 3 years. A lot, and then Lead Fitwell and Well, we have some registration costs associated with, as well as some certification costs and some price based on square footage. So obviously some of these are a little bit cheaper than others, and some, for example, Lead have some discounts if you are a member of the parent organization USGBC. So if that's something you're considering, maybe you're already a member, or maybe you become a member to get those extra cost benefits. Oh, and if we could get a poll going, I would like to know, based on everything you've heard, if you have a specific certification in mind that you think fits your industry more than the other four. So if you guys just want to take a second and pick, even if there's like a tie, or you would consider using all of them, maybe one that just, you know, if your company's more focused on tenant experience, maybe picking between Fitwell and Well. If you're more energy based than Energy Star, if you're really into the technological aspect, then choosing Wired Score. But I'll give you guys a minute to look at that. All right, so we have a lot of Lead. I was not too surprised, but I am sort of surprised that Energy Star is so low. I am a huge advocate for Energy Star, and I'll get to some further reasons further on in the slide. All right, so we have our benefits beyond energy savings. So this is kind of why I'm a bigger advocate for Energy Star, and why I was a little bit surprised I didn't see higher numbers there. So these are some federal financial incentives for commercial energy efficiency. It's based on some ASHRAE 90.1 standards. They're a little bit complicated. If you're not familiar with them, I would recommend maybe hiring a third party to help you kind of prove these efficiency measures. They're kind of similar to that LEED credit where you show the percent improved based on the baseline, and that's where they draw, that case, your credits you receive, in this case, the price you're able to get in tax credits. So as of right now, the federal maximum for tax credits based on commercial building efficiency is $1.80 per square foot. There are some bills in progress that would potentially increase that incentive to a maximum of $2.50 to $5. That bill is in the very early stages, so I wouldn't get my hopes too high, but just to show that there is a big focus on this market. And also, since this is a federal tax credit, they utilize Energy Star to prove those energy savings. And so anyone who wants to get these federal tax credits is required to be maintaining their buildings Energy Star, their energy savings with Energy Star portfolio. Like I said before, Energy Star portfolio is a free tool. You don't have to necessarily certify your building in order to use it. It is based on your bill. You will need to upload your energy bills or have a third party do it, but it is a nice free benchmarking tool. And like I said, here is required if you're interested in these federal tax credits. In addition to tax credits, you can also get some savings in operational costs in an economy where we're struggling to find people that are, qualified to take part in these energy saving operations. Reduced manpower can be a huge operational cost. You can increase time efficiency, reduction in energy costs, reduction in equipment maintenance expenses, and then an increase in rental value and an increase in tenant retention rates, and just some statistics associated with those statements. I'll give you a second to look here, but pretty much every single certification has research backing it that it raises the rental value of the space. LEED has been around for 10 plus years, so we have a lot of savings data associated with that. Wired Score has a huge focus on connectivity, so having a reduced internet downtime is, I don't even think I have to explain why that's so valuable, but that's definitely, they hear a lot of pros from companies whose tenants don't have to worry about if they're going to be able to make their Zoom meeting because their internet's down or stuff like that. So that's a big benefit associated with Wired Score. Well, we have some statistics associated with productivity and ROI, which obviously is not, can't always be super tangible, but improvements with productivity greatly maximize the ROI of the working in the company. We also have Energy Star and Fitwell. Again, those increase in rental value, as well as with Energy Star some energy savings, and then Fitwell, drastic increase in occupant happiness, which in turn also contributes to that high productivity, high ROI. All right, lastly, we have the fault detection and diagnostic software application to building certifications. So I'm going to mention this throughout the presentation, but I just wanted to reiterate. Obviously, energy monitoring, I believe that applies to all five. That is a very basic foundation credit that is typically needed both for the equipment and also when it comes to tenant happiness with Well and Fitwell. Being in thermal comfort is a big piece associated with those. Tenant mobile applications. So this actually applies to Well, Fitwell, and Wired Score. We at Point Guard, we are currently in the works at production of this application at the moment. The idea is instant tenant feedback based on the conditioning of the area. From a Wired Score perspective, this is considered a high connectivity where the tenants are able to give feedback through a mobile application. And for Well and Fitwell, this obviously would be seen to increase tenant happiness with a direct response to tenants stating that they feel that their zone is out of comfort. Work order management. We do at Point Guard, we are integrated with most of the popular work order management systems, and this provides credits for those three certifications as well. Specifically, Wired Score, I want to say it's good for a couple credits. Report generation. I know for LEED, one of the requirements is quarterly findings reports with energy and cost savings. And so ours, along with many other FDD softwares, are able to automatically produce those reports. Demand response. There are a hefty amount of credits in LEED associated with the ability to perform demand and response. Carbon reduction. The software itself doesn't directly reduce the carbon, but ours, along with others, is able to kind of set a plan in place to, it can quantify the carbon dioxide emissions based on the energy usage, and two, you can kind of track that reduction over time. Those LEED prerequisite and credit points we talked about earlier, FDD provides that basic commissioning and also helps you get those additional points for enhanced conditioning. FDD also is able to present quantifications as to why indoor air quality may not be up to par, and can also show, for example, it can quantify the number of times the air is circulating through a room. If that number is relatively low, that's indicative of a poor indoor air quality. So we can kind of use that data to see how much of the ventilation we need to increase. Lastly, smart metering. I believe it's wired score. There's some additional credits associated with smart metering, and our platform is capable of presenting data that is exported from smart meters. All right, so I haven't gotten a chance to take a look at the Q&As, but let's see, Sam, why don't we just get started and read off some of those questions we have.
Okay, great. Thank you, Kelsey. And for everyone else, if you have any questions, feel free to submit them to the Q&A button right at the bottom of your screen. To start off, someone did ask about, will the presentation slides be made available? And yes, there's a link in the chat box in case you want to download these, and we'll also have them on the Energy Management Association website, uploaded pretty shortly after this closes. Someone was asking about a few other different certifications. So I'll start with David here. What about the new smart building programs? They're about building intelligence quotient, SPIRE and SMART score. And as these are all now complementary to green and energy programs. Any insight on those, Kelsey?
Well, start off with, I have my personal opinion, which I think these are amazing programs. They are definitely state of the art. They are so new. We've really never had anything like this before, which is kind of surprising considering the role they play in the industry. I did talk about SMART score, which is a kind of a sector of wired score. The idea of smart buildings is considered the future, definitely. And a big part of smart buildings is its ability to communicate back with the grid, which is kind of what's entailed in demand response. I wasn't sure exactly what the question was, but I am personally only very familiar with wired score. Those other ones, while I haven't heard of them or aren't very familiar with them, I would highly recommend doing any sort of connectivity certification.
Okay, thank you. And someone else was asking about a certification best suited for a healthcare facility or center. Is there a specific one for that, or is there a best choice for them?
Yes, and I actually have my green associate book with me, so I could specifically quote. But I do believe that LEAD has a section specifically for healthcare. But also, I think LEAD, the one I talked about earlier. Oh, here we go. Actually, oh, excuse me 1 second. Yes, so there is one specifically for hospital, operation maintenance existing buildings.
Okay, great. And I had a question. At least in this group, why do you think that LEAD is more popular than Energy Star? Or do you think that's reflective of a larger audience because Energy Star requires more investment?
I think it's the most long-term certification out of all the rest. So I think its history, the length of time it has had to become popular has benefited as opposed to these other newer ones.
Do you know anything about Green Globe's certification? I think it's ANSI accredited.
I have not heard of this one. I will make a note of this, and I plan on following up with an email if any questions I'm not able to answer right now, but would love to look into afterwards. I've specifically never heard of Green Globe.
Okay, David, feel free to plug in a link in the comment box there. And then another question came in from Philip, or more of a comment. It seems local jurisdictions adopting codes seem often to drive the need to either do LEED or IGCC. He might mean IECC, I'm not sure. How are these other certifications going to get traction?
Excuse me. So I think that's a great question. Right now, only really Energy Star is the one that's able to help with federal tax credits, but I'm hoping once they do that new bill, potentially I only read the part that talked about the increase in price, but I could totally see, it's a relatively large bill in progress. I could completely see them including some other certifications in there, such as LEED, WireScore, well, that would potentially get federal tax credits as opposed to only using Energy Star for that.
Right. From EMA's perspective, since we do a bit of advocacy on the local level for these codes and ordinances, it does seem dependent on if they want to make that their primary goal and going out there and making that happen versus the other way around. Another certification that someone's dropping in here, UL Healthy Building Certification. Any thoughts on that, or have you been across that one before?
Excuse me, all this talking. I've definitely heard of that one. I would say there's a lot of overlap with Well and Fitwell with that one. Typically, when you're talking about healthy building, you're talking about that tenant experience, kind of looking at more things like particles in the air and or air quality, movement of the people in the, for example, that both those certifications have points associated with having a gym within the building. So when you say healthy building, I could be wrong, but typically that's talking about kind of a holistic view on the whole thing compared to just looking at energy savings and cost savings.
Okay, thank you. And thank you, Kevin. IGCC stands for International Green Construction Code. That one. And I think we might be ending near the end of our questions here. One other that was just dropped in, looking at connection to or alignment with GRESB International ESG ratings for real estate. Now that's a lot of acronyms for me personally. I don't know if you
GRESBC.
GRESB.
GRESB. Okay.
Correct.
I'm not super familiar with that one. Just based on the lettering, it sounds similar to the USGBC, which is the large organization that has created and manages LEED. So I would assume there'll be a lot of parallels with those two.
Okay. And Kelsey can always follow up with anyone that's looking for additional information afterwards.
Yes, and I just wanted to add, if anyone in the audience is interested in starting out getting certified on their own for possibly certifying things like this, such as the future, a great step one would be to become a LEED GA. It is the cheapest, it is relatively simpler than all the rest, and also it connects you to other LEED GAs and kind of, because for example, the next step you have to choose between 5 different designations, but the LEED GA is just one overall designation, and it kind of helps you dig a little deeper, see which one of those you think is more pertinent to you. But any other questions you have associated with LEED GA or any other certifications, I highly encourage you to jot down my email on the screen, follow up. Obviously, there's so many certifications, it can be hard to touch on all of them. I encourage you to look into any of those ones you've asked about that maybe I didn't mention today. I just tried to touch on the most popular ones, but there are so many out there. And I think the more the merrier, and it's creating a very great competitive environment in the industry.
Okay, well, I think we're at the end of our questions here. Kelsey, thank you so much for coming on, and thank you to Point Guard for sponsoring this webinar for us today.
Of course.
Okay, so on my side from the Energy Management Association, before we close out, we do have a virtual O&M training coming up, and we are doing a last flash sale. And I haven't announced this to anyone yet, so this is solely for you guys. You can save 400 or 57% by scanning that little QR code right there. Head to the landing page, and the QR code, or excuse me, promo code to save more than half off on this course is there. So feel free to head there. We are going to teach all of attendees and about to improve energy efficiency and system performance in your building or buildings that you consult for. We have a certified instructor who's a lead AP, he's a CXA and an EMP, and is wonderful, and also teaches our virtual EMP seminar. So it is a great course, and really encourage you to take a look at that. Again, the recording and presentation and also quiz, just in case you want to send this to any friends or anyone else that wants to take this for credit, will be available on the Energy Management Association website in just a week. So last thing, thank you again, Kelsey, and thank you to Point Guard for sponsoring this presentation today.
Of course, thank you, EMA, and everyone who's attended today.
Right. Have a great day, everyone. Thank you again.